I hosted parties and starved my body like I'd be saved by a perfect kiss. These are the lyrics from a Taylor Swift song, You're on Your Own Kid, where she addresses her past struggles with an eating disorder. I won't hide it. I'm a big Swiftie, and one of the reasons I love her so much is because all her songs and words are so relatable to me. I can talk all day about how much I love Taylor, but today I would like to focus on one specific topic I can especially empathize with. That is, yep, you guessed it, body image. My name is Kei Hato, and I'll be guiding you through my journey of coping with body image. You may have heard several talks, seen social media posts, and read articles about what body image is. And as harsh as it sounds, I may sound like another ED recoverer. But I still want to share with you my story. Even if it's conceptually what you've heard before, I'm going to take you back 5 years in my life. Because a healthy body image is not only the first step to building a healthy relationship with food and exercise, but also a key player in developing self-esteem, acceptance, and psychological well-being. 5 years ago, when I entered middle school, I was happy. My sweet, innocent, naive little soul was having the time of her life. Hanging out with friends after school, going out for sweets, having my grandmother's delicious food as snacks. The word stress simply did not exist in my dictionary. But around the time I entered 8th grade, I made a discovery that affected me for years to come. I realized that I had gained weight. The 13-year-old Kei Hato, who did not know that gaining muscles could give you more weight, that there were organs growing inside me, that my bones were growing in density, like they should, thought, oh my God, I'm getting fat. I need to lose weight. Having been praised for being thin, for having slim thighs, for having the ideal figure from a young age, being thin had become part of my identity. And therefore, I could not accept myself not being the girl with the perfect body. And so I decided to go on a weight loss diet. A year after I started my diet, I had lost 3 kilograms. You may not think that 3 kilograms is much of a difference. In fact, we often praise people for losing 3 kilograms. But along with my weight, I had lost my period. Losing my period was of no concern to me. I had thought, well, now I don't have to bother with feeling like a human water balloon every month. I mean, why would it be able to stop me from redeeming my perfect figure? It's no biggie, right? Well, it turned out to be a real biggie. Weight loss had taken over my body and my mind. Every second, every minute, I would think about all the food I wanted to eat, but I couldn't. Every time I sat in front of my meal, my mind would be busy calculating calories and macros, that it had no space to actually taste the food. The only times I could eat what I wanted to eat were on family trips and Christmas. But even on those days, I felt like I had to eat everything I couldn't on other days. So I stuffed myself with food to the point where I was so full that I could not tell whether I had enjoyed the food. And as soon as that day was over, I would be busy again, counting the calories I had accumulated and calculating how much I would have to restrict to burn it all off. I remember a time when I was having dinner at my grandmother's house. My grandmother told me, "I'm so glad to see you eating because I had heard that you were on a diet." I told her, "Don't worry, Grandma, I'm eating." I felt so guilty lying to her because I couldn't tell her the only reason I could eat everything she served me was because I hadn't had anything all that day, because I had been severely restricting all week long. What got me out of this seemingly never-ending spiral was one very special birthday gift. On my 16th birthday, my grandfather brought home a birthday cake for me. At that time, Grandpa had been having dinner at our house because my grandmother was in hospital. I knew he rarely went to the department store. I knew he didn't eat cake. And on top of that, I couldn't believe he had gotten me a cake in such a hard time. Yet, he did. But still, despite everything, there was still a voice inside my head telling me, look at all that cream. You're going to have to exercise so much if you eat that cake. And it was that moment I was finally able to tell my brain, just shut up. I was not going to let myself ruin the moment. I was not going to let myself hurt my grandfather, because I had heard that my grandma had told him to buy that cake. And I got shoved out of my downward spiral. I realized I just could not miss out on all the good things in life for some stupid body image. I was going to get back the life I had lost. In my blurb for today's event, I mentioned that I would be discussing my take on body image. And here it is. It is a problem we face as a society. It is not something that can be thrown away as a simple casual illness. It damages, ruins lives of thousands of children and adults. And therefore, it is vital for us to learn to love our bodies and become healthier, both physically and mentally. And to begin, it is important that we understand the problem at hand statistically and objectively. A common index used to measure body fatness is BMI. It is calculated by your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters. The healthy range for BMI is 18.5 to 24.9. A BMI below 18.5 suggests you are underweight. A BMI above 25 suggests you are overweight. With 10% of the female population having a BMI below 18.5, our sense of weight in Japan seems to have become a bit crooked. In fact, Japan has the highest rate of underweight females in the OECD. And globally, a lot of people are recognizing this high rate of underweight individuals as a serious problem. But from the inside, it may not be so. For example, we have this devastating concept called the Cinderella weight, which is calculated following a BMI of 18 and often used as weight loss goals. From the outside, the absurdness of these goals can be easily understood. But when we are immersed in a culture so focused on being thin, not many realize these dangers. And so we turn to trusted adults to help us, to guide individuals out of their unhealthiness. However, according to a guideline for high school health counselors are only recommended to share students' nutritional status with other teachers unless the student is below BMI 16. That's already known to be associated with markedly high risk of ill health, poor physical performance, and even death. And therefore, this cutoff point is a valid, extreme limit. The more prolonged the underweight state is, the higher the health risks become. For example, underweight is known to be associated with menstrual disorders, weak immune systems, anemia, osteoporosis, and much more. It is said that half the eating disorder patients fully recover, a third show improved symptoms, but for a fifth, it becomes a chronic illness. Eating disorders also have a high mortality rate of 5%, which is the highest out of all mental disorders. Now, let's zoom out even further. Eating disorders have a large impact on the economy. In the US, the yearly costs for eating disorders are estimated to be $64.7 billion, when all this money could be used for other causes, such as providing access to healthy food in schools and communities. What's more, being underweight is cyclical. It compounds and overflows, affecting the next generation. Typically, babies born from underweight mothers are known to have lower body mass at birth and higher risks of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and other lifestyle diseases in later life. If we could reduce the number of underweight females, we can stop this cycle of unhealthiness. All of this may sound a bit hypothetical and optimistic, but isn't the risk worth taking? In Japan, it is estimated that there are 220,000 patients suffering from either anorexia or bulimia. But out of this 220,000 patients, only a third actually reach out for medical aid. When 2/3 are left to fight this on their own, it is crucial that we provide an environment where they can actually reach out for help. But what is more important is to tackle this problem from the root cause and reduce any stress related to your appearance. In a survey I took for today's event regarding people's perceptions toward their bodies, the results, as you'd expect, were devastating. Not a single person said they feel 100% confident with their body. 80% said they have felt insecurities about their body. Over 60% said they feel pressure from their community to lose weight. We cannot keep leaning on what other people perceive as beautiful, and so we must focus on the entire life ahead of us. Now, this leads to the question, how do we build a healthy body image? Here's the thing. Sometimes knowledge is not enough to stimulate change. I knew that not having my period, that having to spend 40 minutes just trying to decide what to have for lunch, that exercising for an hour starting at midnight was not normal. But just knowing that I'm in an abnormal state was not enough to make me quit. This is the thing about body positivity. It is so much easier said than done. Earlier in my talk, I mentioned that I would discuss my take on body image. And now, I'd like to discuss 3 practical strategies that helped me get out of my negative spiral and can hopefully help you as well. First, don't forget that the present isn't everything. You may not like your body right now, and that's okay. But we live close to 100 now. Trying to have the ideal body in your teens can have serious consequences in your later years. For example, menstrual disorders are known to be associated with infertility or low bone density. Don't you think it's a shame to have a crooked back for decades or keep breaking bones just because you conform to a beauty standard in your teens? Not having the ideal body can cause distress, I know. But the beauty standards that exist in Japan today require us to be constantly dieting, constantly exercising, always aware of everything we eat. Is that how you want to live for the rest of your life? Wouldn't life be so much happier, so much easier, if we could eat what we wanted, when we wanted, and exercise to our will? I chose to take long-term happiness, to eat and exercise to my desire over short-term happiness, to conform to the beauty standard and restrict. Another quote from Taylor Swift, "It's better to think you look fat than to look sick." Bear in mind that the present isn't everything. And ask yourself, is my lifestyle going to make me happy 5, 10, 20, even 50 years later? Second, think about the people that care about you. You may not like how you think or how you look, but there are still people that love you. Watching you struggle is hard for them as much as it is for you. How would you feel if your sibling, best friend, partner, or anyone you loved always looking at themselves in the mirror, constantly skipping meals, and always looking gloomy? I think you would be really worried, and it would be painful to see them that way. So, don't do the same to them. If loving yourself is difficult, or if the love yourself mindset is not enough to stimulate change, imagine that you're doing them a favor and treat yourself nicely for them. Don't hurt them by showing them hurting yourself. Finally, take out a picture of you from when you were really young and choose one where you're smiling in. This is important. And ask yourself, what was it that made me smile in this picture? I highly doubt it would be because you felt you were better than others. In the survey, a lot of respondents said that they feel insecurities about their body when they compare themselves to their friends or models. So many of us are relying on comparisons for self-esteem. But think again, would having the body that is superior to others really make you happy? Am I making the kid in this picture happy? If the answer is no, then tell yourself, I'm doing this for him, or I'm doing this for her, and get back the genuine smile you've stolen and left behind. Stop hurting your body, your mind, your self-esteem, and get back the genuine smile, and smile from the bottom of your heart. Even if you're not personally suffering from an eating disorder or a negative body image, someone you know could be. As a whole, as society, you must be kind and guide these individuals towards a state of betterment. As students, teachers, parents, even as people, we must learn to be accepting of our bodies, because how big our body is does not decide our worth, but how big our heart is does. The set of lyrics I mentioned at the beginning of my talk weren't complete. I hosted parties and starved my body like I'd be saved by a perfect kiss. It goes on to say, you've got no reason to be afraid. You're on your own, kid. Yeah, you can face this. The way all of us can get out of this. Thank you.